What's up, guys? This is Andres from the VC Brewery Show. This is part 2. So, you haven't seen part 1. I'll put a link in the description of this video. But this is part 2 of me interviewing Andres Borowiak from Boomhut Mobile Canning. He just happened to be a couple of streets over, one street over from where I work. A buddy of mine at work saw his van on one of his lunchtime walks. So, we hooked up. Good interview. Again, this is part 2. Because we got to talking about lots of things, and he has a long history of being in the beer industry, in the beer world, and how he was able to fill a void that he saw and jumped on that to get his business going. So, again, this is part 2. Enjoy the show. Link in the description for part 1.
Let's crack another one. What we got here? You like hazies?
Yeah.
Cool. Doing okay?
You're doing great.
All right. I'm a little bit talkative, so by any means you're welcome to. You can interrupt me anytime you want to. This is my Borowiak side of the family never shuts the fuck up. That's what my wife says. You get us at a dinner table, man. Oh my God.
Is that right?
Like Thanksgiving and stuff. It's like. My aunt and uncle, they'll sit down and they'll literally present a topic of conversation.
All right.
These are typical Borowiaks for you. They'll present a topic of conversation. I remember one time we sat down, we were talking about there was that, I don't know if you saw the Joaquin Phoenix movie in which he played like an aspiring rapper.
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
And he for 8 months he was in character. And everywhere he went, he played like this ridiculous rapper, and it was completely stupid. And he said that he was retiring from acting, and he was going to become a rapper.
Yeah.
And he went on everything, like Letterman even. He had this famous appearance on Letterman.
Yeah.
And
I remember him being in character.
I forget the name of the movie, but it was funny because my aunt and uncle had just seen the movie, and I think we hadn't quite seen it yet, but I saw it a few days after this incredibly lengthy conversation. And my aunt was like, "What do you think of Joaquin Phoenix's, diving into this role and living this character or whatever?" And she was like, "But before you answer, I want to go around the table, and each person at the table will have their chance to speak."
Yeah.
And it's not just like you just say like a quick thing. Like they want you to think about that answer and really answer it. So when you sit here and hear me not shutting the fuck up,
No, man, it's
I'm sorry. It's one of those things. I can't help myself.
yeah, it's great content.
Right. Okay. Cool. I'm glad you're saying that, even though it's slightly.
Should we put this back? You want to put this in
Anyway,
front?
yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we can keep it out. This
All
is
right.
Ambitious Ales down in Long Beach. They make some absolutely delicious beers. Like some of my favorite breweries right now that we're working with. Ambitious is one of them, and they're Hop Saint Brewing's another one, and Torrance. There's just some that are starting to get really recognized now on like the Southern California beer scene, and I personally like them a lot just because like. There's not a lot of ego behind these guys. These are guys that came out of home brewing, and they managed to scale up in a fashion which is not easy for a lot of people that come out of home brewing to do. Without any formal training of working in breweries or whatever. And I actually can't say that they didn't have formal training. There's 4 guys that are all co-owners at Ambitious, but they're all just great dudes. And every time we can down there, like they can tell when I'm being genuine, as all my clients can. Like this beer is outstanding,
right.
Or I'll give them a cheers or whatever. I'll text them a couple days later. I'm cracking a can or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to be able to work with people that are ego free and that are making a high quality product. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In this case, they're killing the hazy game. And
at the end of the day, you're making beer.
Right. Making beer.
It's supposed to be fun and good time and
exactly.
Right.
Man. Yeah.
So.
I love their hazies though. One thing we've canned a million of.
Yeah.
Since we started, millions is hazies.
Right.
And to the point of like, every once in a while, me and my guys are like, more freaking hazy, But again, like I said earlier, man, if it's a quality hazy, I don't care. Even if I can, millions and millions of hazies.
Yeah.
A quality beverage is still a quality beverage.
For sure.
These guys are killing it, man. And I'm sure they don't want to stand on only hazy. They're making incredible sours, barrel aged beers, like everything they're doing. I'm a huge fan of, and. So if any of our Ventura County people are ever down in the Long Beach area, they are well worth checking out. Ambitious Ales. It's like one of those spots that I wish was kind of in our neighborhood. Like we're lucky because we have a lot of these style places, but it's a very neighborhood brewery, very regional, localized spot. But right out of the gate, excuse me, they actually made a beer in their first year that won a GABF.
All right.
I think it was a bronze medal. And guys, I'm incredibly apologetic if I screw this up. I think it was in the coffee beer category, but it was a coffee blonde ale. Okay. So it poured like rather really nicely filtered beer, rather clean, but had the most incredible, and still does. We package it all the time for them.
Right.
Has the most incredible aroma of coffee. Like I don't know if are you a coffee drinker?
Yeah, for sure.
So when you wake up early mornings like I do, I'm like religious coffee man.
Yeah.
But the most incredible aroma of coffee, like some of the best coffee flavor in the world. And I don't remember what kind of coffee's in it, but those guys have killed the coffee stuff, man. They've made a few stouts that have coffee incorporated into it, and they have a partner coffee company they work with to give them all their stuff. And man, excellent stuff.
Awesome.
Anyway, that's ambitious. Yes.
So okay. Logistics. You get there in the morning. How long does it take you to set up? So like, packaging beer is how many beers you have to package, right? That time. But,
yes.
But setting up and breaking down, I assume you clean on site?
Yes.
How long does that take?
So our average day, we arrive at 7 in the morning. We have to, all of our stuff is on what is kind of like a U-Haul size box truck. Mm-hmm. And so it takes us from 7 in the morning until about 9 to 9:30 in the morning, depending on all the extra equipment that we may be unloading. We will unload the truck. We'll connect everything into basically a fully a conveyance line, and it's made up of 3 main pieces of equipment: a fully automatic mobile depalletizer, which is what holds a pallet of empty cans and lifts it up and then pushes them forward one row at a time into a single lane conveyance system.
Yeah.
So you've got a whole pallet of cans with 3,200 cans on it, essentially, and it lifts up and pushes in a single lane conveyor. Then it connects into a twist rinse, which actually flips the cans over upside down. There's no lid at this point on the can. So in other words, it's an empty vessel that flips upside down. When they're going through the twist rinse, it then sprays the cans with a low dose sanitizer.
Yeah.
And
standard homebrew stuff, right?
You want to clean the cans. So these cans are arriving and they're already 100% sanitized. They're meticulously clean on the inside, but still, you don't know how maybe can suppliers are housing these things at their warehouses or their facilities. So you still want to rinse the can out, clean any residual, whatever dust, dirt that may come out. And so that goes through a twist rinse, sprays it. They then, sit there upside down for a minute, and then they flip back over and then enter into the Wild Goose canning system that we have. It's a 5-head canning line. And the steps in the canning line, the first thing, if you've ever seen anybody either filling a growler or a crowler in a brewery, when you go in there and you want to take home, a 32-ounce crowler, they'll go over, the first thing they'll do is they'll put a CO2 spout in that can, and they'll purge the can of any oxygen with the CO2, the carbon dioxide, which weighs more than oxygen. So it'll sit in the bottom of that can, it'll push out all that O2 out of the top of the can. We're doing the same thing in our canning line. So 5 cans at a time will come down. We'll have 5 cans at a time will fill with CO2. And then as those filler heads come up, they'll move into the next station, and then those same 5 cans, which have just been filled with the CO2, the carbon dioxide, they'll fill with the beer. And then the second that comes up, the fill heads come up and fill with the beer. Then they'll go through, a lid will drop on the can, a little extra CO2 actually will hit the top of the beer first, and then a lid drops on, and it will immediately go into the seamer and seam. So what we're doing by setting up all these pieces of equipment, and then cleaning the interior of the system, that all takes about 2 hours. But at the end of that 2 hour to 2.5 hour mark, whether we're labeling or we're adding on a date coder or other little things that we can add to the equation, around 9:30 we're rolling. And then canning run can take anywhere from 3 hours to 10 hours, depending on how much we're canning. And we have the capability to do. We have minimums that we charge, but typically people are over the minimums, especially since COVID started. Everybody's been doing a lot more volume. But typically we're packaging anywhere from 6,000. I'm having trouble hearing you. My apologies.
She wants in on the conversation.
I know. Here, I'll back up. Canning run, typically we'll do anywhere from 6,000 cans to 20,000 cans in a day. And 20,000 is a big number for what we do. But we can run about anywhere from 35 to 40 cans a minute. 40 cans a minute is kind of what we call our magic number, because that equates, it's very easy math, it equates to 100 cases an hour.
Okay.
So if we're doing 40 cans per minute, we know that we're getting through 100 filled cases an hour.
Right.
And so if a brewery says to us, hey, we want to do 300 cases of brand 1, 200 cases of brand 2, and 200 cases of brand 3, we know we got 700 cases we need to fill.
Yeah.
If we can get to 40 cans a minute, that's 7 hours of canning.
Right.
Now, there's other little stop downs in between brands. We'll clean the line again. Or there may be other things that happen with the brewery or whatever it may be. So we're typically, from us arriving to a brewery to the time we're leaving is going to be anywhere from 8 8 to 14 hours a day.
Wow.
So they're big days. Because of our driving thing, we're also just spending, a couple hours on a truck every single day.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of it. Our employees, they like it because they're getting paid from the second they jump on the truck. And a lot of time they're just Instagramming or sleeping while they're on the truck, but they're getting paid and then get to the brewery and then we're right to it. And we're pretty dialed. Like we even when we are using a labeler, which is an extra piece of equipment, or the decoder, or other nitrogen dosing, which is another thing we can do. If you've ever had like the widgetless can, so Guinness, when you pop a Guinness can, it's got that widget in the bottom of the can. Well, these days you can actually do a widgetless nitro dose, in which we're actually setting up a different piece of equipment and dosing the top of the beer right before the lid goes on with liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen.
Wow.
And then what that does, it does a couple things. One is then the lid drops on, it travels down in and immediately seams, and the can gets pressurized. So typically when you're doing a nitrogen dosed can, it's usually like a very low carbonated beer, and the nitrogen then hardens the can, and it also vacates the can of more oxygen. But you're getting a nice firm product, so you don't, the customer's not getting like a squishy weird can on the shelf. But that nitrogen doser is another piece of equipment we can use to also kind of give additive value to our customer if they ever want to do that. And it's cool because those type of cans, I don't think I have any widgetless beers right here. But you just turn them upside down a couple times like this, and then you can pour it aggressively, and it gives that same really nice cascade that the Guinness cans offer. So depending on what we're doing as far as all these ancillary items, labeler, date coder, doser, we're 2 to 2.5 hours, and then we're trucking.
Yeah.
So to speak.
All right.
Yeah, man.
It's a full day.
They are very full days. Very full days. Our employees typically like 4 days a week, because the hours are 12 hours a day, pretty much, and so they can be grinds. But it takes a certain type of mentality. And I came from the event business. Like I said, my dad was a pro tennis player. I grew up not necessarily with the same level of talent my dad did, so I ended up working in pro tennis. Yeah. But working events like that, like putting on events where you're working nonstop around the clock for 2-3 weeks. Yeah. That I did for a couple decades. And then I went into TV and film production for a while and was doing the same type of thing. Like you'd have film shoots or TV shoots that were like, I was doing for a couple years, like a lot of TV shoots that would go, 12, 15 hours in a day. And you just kind of get like mentally prepared for these things. I'm built for it, me personally. So at the young age of 42 years old, I'm still trucking and
seasoned veteran.
Right, exactly. But I'm enjoying it, man. It really is such a fun industry. Like the amount of creative people and quality beer. Like people ask me if it gets boring. It never does. It really doesn't.
Yeah. You're in the new place every day.
Yeah, new places, or even if they're in the same places, or even the same core brands that we've like. Different things can change, and you're constantly challenged. You're not sitting behind a desk, behind a computer. Trying to count the hours of your day. Like
for sure,
we're moving all the time. You look down at your watch and like hours have passed.
Right.
Rather than looking at your watch and like it feels like hours should have passed and really it's just minutes.
Right.
That's torture to me. So to have been able to find this for the last 4 years and knock on wood, you hope that your passion and whatever you find in life can continue to provide. It's been a pretty cool thing, man.
How much beer you get to bring? How much scrap do you
mean like our tips? Different breweries do it differently. We typically do get tipped in a little bit of beer, and I try and my crew gets to reap the benefits just like we do. We get beer almost every single day, and it's nice because first of all, my wife and I are we're like the best neighbor on our whole block, so we share a lot of beer with our friends, especially when we're really excited about it. Yeah. Or this last year maybe not so much in COVID, but we'll have can shares, bottle shares with our friends, and cracking open whatever's freshest. But
I would say that's a pretty good bonus for your employees,
pretty
right?
Pretty good, man. Yeah, definitely.
Right? It takes all the edge off the weekend having to go buy your own, right?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, our employees don't buy beer too much, and I'm the same. Like, in fact, my bottle, I was, like I said, back in the day before all this started, I was going out buying everything.
Right.
And I was the type of guy that would buy like not just 1 or 2 bottles. Like I'd max out my whatever allotment was. Yeah. And I've just got an insane beer bottle collection. Excuse me. And I haven't really been touching it since this whole world. I haven't not been touching it, but I've been having to like find my excuses to get into my bottles because there's so many fresh cans all the time.
Right.
And I am really a hophead. I love a fresh hop.
Yeah.
And so for me, being able to have fresh cans all the time is great. And we're canning everything now too, like barrel aged beers all the time. We don't can sours. That would be the one thing we can't.
Yeah.
We can do kettle sours because it's a different process. They're boiling off the lactobacillus or the Brettanomyces or Saccharomyces, whatever it is. But that would be the only thing we cannot package. And there's a host of reasons.
Cross contamination and all that. Yeah.
Can't get into all that, man, because there's a number of breweries that we can name drop that have battled those issues and have had to create like entirely separate breweries, to counter those effects of the cross contamination. So we don't do the sours, but we'll do kettle sours and just about anything else. And we have other QC stuff that we do every day. Like we're swabbing our equipment to make sure we don't test positive for microbial or food particulate. We're doing seam checks every single day to make sure that our seamer's operating 100% properly. Yeah. And that we're not, gonna have like leaking cans anywhere on the market. And fortunately, nothing under our control has ever gone south. We have managed to, in our 4 years, on all our lines and all our different employees that are handling these cans, and I've been able to train multiple lead operators who go out there and represent Boomhut as well, and they've all, our main focus is always QC. Like, how can we guarantee that as I'm training you, you're going to take, all these things as much as I do, like highly important QC factors into play every single day and keeping them at the forefront of what we do. So, yeah.
Good. No, I mean, it's any business has its minor details that are actually the most important, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially with food, right?
Sure.
You don't want dirty stuff because then it gets in the can, then you're hosed, right?
Yeah, for sure, man.
And you want to catch it.
Exactly.
Right. You don't want your customer to catch it or the consumer to catch it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it is, a lot of what we do too. I mean, presentation wise, like, we really want our crew to be. I mean, we work in the brewing industry.
Yeah.
There's a million brewers with that are heavily tatted and with long hair, long beards, and all that stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But we do try and have a really professional look, because it is food and beverage.
Yep.
And so, all the things that go into that, if my guys have long hair, it's like tying the hair back and doing all the things you got to do to like make sure. And obviously this whole last year we've all been wearing masks.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we're finally getting to the end of that one. We're lucky in California, man.
Yeah.
I heard we're at 70% almost now, like, vaccinated wise, which whether or not, everybody agrees with the vaccination thing, it's a place that allows us all to open back up. And our clients who've been suffering in the brewing world from Ventura County to everywhere, for them to be able to, the ones that have all found those, like I was saying, got creative, found ways to think outside the box and sustain through COVID, have now created new avenues for growth and sales for themselves.
For sure.
So maybe they didn't think they were going to have a canning program. Now they've got a canning program, or maybe they didn't ever think they were going to do X, Y, and Z, and here it is, and now it's here to stay because their clientele got used to it, and the world is just different now, man. So it's here we are on the other side. It's nice to be seeing everybody thrive and starting to thrive again.
Right. I would say that's a positive of this whole deal is on my way home I passed by 2 breweries and the can selection has been a lot better.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to get big ones or crowlers. Yeah. Right. 4-pack of this, 4-pack of this, and then I'm on my way home.
Sure.
That's hopefully that's here to stay.
So I know you don't pick favorites, man. Who are you have? You live in Oxnard. I know you've got Casa Agria close by.
Yeah.
Do you have some other favorites in the Ventura County area that?
I would say interviews 1 through 12 of my
all
podcast.
Those guys.
Yeah, all those guys for sure.
I like it. Again, that's very.
You got to be diplomatic, man. I got to get more people on the show. So.
No, I get you. Well, you know what's one thing that's cool is to genuinely, I'm being very genuine about this. Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, Northern LA County, where we call home, you know, even if it's not just Ventura, we really do have a ton of amazing
100%.
Breweries. Like they and a lot of very niche breweries. Like you think about Enegren,
for sure,
which I think has become over. They've been around for a long time, and they were a client of ours for a number of years. And they're making some of the best lagers in not only in Southern California but in the state and in the country. Yeah. And they've become. Before they even became like this really highly appreciated brewery outside of Ventura County, they were like the Brewers Brewery.
Yeah.
All these, I would go everywhere, all over the place, and people would hear I'm from Ventura County, and one of the first people that would come up was Enegren,
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be able to like represent Enegren because we can for them for so long,
right?
And watch them go from like just selling out of the brewery to suddenly getting into like Trader Joe's and then Costco's, and now they're like in all the high end spots, the Whole Foods and the Bristol Farms and all these things.
Yeah.
It's rad, man, because those guys, obviously, for like making German-style lagers, pilsners, that type of thing, amazing brewery.
I appreciate that they are true to a style.
For sure.
Right. And,
for sure.
And hazies are great.
Yes.
Well, sometimes you want to go get a good German beer.
Yeah, man. Some of the best in the world.
For sure.
And they're getting people coming from Germany going to their spot because they're hearing, and people that, Germans that will literally go there day after day after day because it's the only spot they've had in Southern California that they truly think is like, perfected that style or whatever the styles that may be that they're enjoying over there. But even outside of that, like, you got Casa Agria, who, of course, the name's House of Sour.
Yeah.
They've evolved their program. Now they're doing everything from barrel-aged stouts and barley wines to, incredible IPAs and West Coasts and lagers and everything now. And all are really high quality. And it's not to say that any of these guys, Enegren or Casa or Institution, who you pass when you're going home, or anybody, hasn't gone through ups and downs.
For sure.
Everybody does, man. It's the nature of business, and you have stuff that you're more proud of and maybe not as proud of or whatever. But everybody grows from these experiences, man. And in Ventura County, and I know this because I work with other counties and I work with other people that are in competing areas, there really is like a nice community up here. Like, people can all get together at, maybe it's festivals up here, Central Coast Craft Beer. I know you interviewed.
Yeah.
We're covering all the Andres. By the way, great name, man. Great name.
Thank you very
Andres
much.
And Andres.
Yeah, it's easy to remember.
I know, very easy, man. And Andres from Surf and Sets, too.
Yeah.
All the Andreses. But, you go to a festival like Surf and Sets, man, and the community is awesome. Like, there's nobody... I mean, of course, I'm sure there's some adversarial stuff that you see out there, but it's nothing out of like, there's nothing too overly competitive. People all want their neighbors around here to survive, and you see that the amount of collaborations that go on here in Ventura County, like Topa collaborating with Casa Agria not too long ago.
Yeah.
Those are very different breweries, but they found a mutual fun project to work on. Like, one was a West Coast hazy, and the other one was a hazy West Coast. They did their own opposites, and they shared their ingredients and everything, and I just think that's always such a fun thing, man.
But I think that's important, right? Having competition, right? It keeps the quality high, right? As opposed to being you're the only brewery within however many mile radius, right? You're the brewery, right? And no one will know who to compare you to,
right?
But here we're lucky. Right, Ventura to Westlake.
Yes.
Right, and they're all friends.
Yeah.
But they're all like, well, I got to be as good as this guy.
Right.
Because they're also going to go to him. Right.
Yeah.
I would say that's what keeps our beer quality very high here.
Indeed, no doubt.
Yeah.
It's been cool. I'm gonna crack another beer here, but from Tarantula Hill, their Paradise Falls Mai Tai Hazy IPA. T Hill here, for instance, another fun Ventura County example. Ali Zia, who I know you interviewed recently, he's a good buddy of mine for many years now, and I remember when Ali was, before he ever opened Bottle and Pint, which were a couple of like, and here goes my foam. That's quite the pour, Andres. Ali, a friend of mine, Dominic, introduced me and a few other friends to Ali before he opened his Bottle and Pint in Newbury Park.
All right.
And I remember Dom saying, like, Ali's a pretty smart dude. He's gonna come over here and he's opening the spot, and I think you guys should, show him some love. Like, and I, at the time I was still fairly new to the canning thing, but I was stoked to meet another guy that was in the world that I was entering in here, which was, Ventura County beer.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he opens up one of the coolest tasting rooms. They had, I think 20, 30 different tap handles, and then like a bottle shop, which once I started getting to know Ali, I would go around and roll around with him in his, while he go pick up kegs from like Bottle Logic and Highland Park and other people. And we just have like a day rolling around the car. And when I knew that I was trying to build business, he would go and pick up kegs, and I'd introduce myself to these different breweries.
Sure.
And it was great, man, because he and I, as buddies, would get to spend the day and just shoot the shit all the time.
And you're making connections.
And then he opens up, exactly. I'm making connections, and he's continuing his connections. And then he goes and opens up his Bottle and Pint Oxnard,
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, he's talking about this Tarantula Hill idea.
Yeah.
And being able to see that come to fruition, this incredible state-of-the-art, beautiful brewery.
Yep.
It was so cool, man. Like, they took an old Halloween store that was on, Teal Boulevard and Moore Park Boulevard in the heart of downtown Thousand Oaks here, and turned it into this incredible place that is now like a destination brewery for people all over Southern California. They brought in brewers from Stone Brewery down in San Diego that were like two guys that are just all stars,
Yeah.
And then he brought in his whole collection of people that he's put together as far as investors and management crew and everything there is just so solid. And so to be able to have that in Thousand Oaks, the amount of pride that we have to have, being in the industry, to have this brewery that now everybody's aware of, and is getting out there into the Southern Cal and Northern Cal world and everything. It's fun, man, and friends, just to see friends thrive like this,
Yeah, it's definitely you're gonna spend a couple hours there, Because you get there, you have beer, then you have dinner, then you have dessert.
Right.
And then you have a coffee.
Right. I know, and ice cream for the kids.
For sure. And then another beer at the end,
Dude,
right?
It's awesome. It's awesome. That's one of my kids, like, my daughter Maisie, when it was her birthday recently, she's 6 years old. She was like, we were like, where do you want to go? She's like, T Hill.
Yeah.
Tarantula Hill Brewing Company. So I'm like, all right, I'll go to a brewery for your birthday.
For sure. Start them young.
Yeah, exactly. What's funny is sometimes I'm at when we're canning.
Yeah.
At breweries, I'll see fathers come in with their daughters or their sons.
Yeah.
And they'll sit in the tasting room, and we'll be sitting over in the production area canning.
Yeah.
And one of the funnest things, and I only know this because I have kids too.
Yeah.
One of the funnest things is going over to a kid with an empty beer can that has no lid on it and a lid, and going over to the kid like mid canning run, and I'll just put it down in front of him like a can, an empty can with a lid, and having these kids like look at me, and then I'll walk away and I'll let the parent like kind of watch, and this kid will like investigate the can and then the lid, and they'll put the lid on, and then and it's like this 5 to 7 minutes of total peace for the parent.
Yeah.
Number one, which as a parent I'm always looking for peace with my kids. But it's also a cool thing. Like, they're putting together, like, how this whole thing works. They're watching us over here package beverages, or seeing all this equipment. And sometimes it's like 3, 4, 5-year-old kids who don't think about the world in this kind of a way.
For sure.
But then, to be able to hand them something tangible like this, and then have them kind of look at the can and understand it. You made the joke, like, start them young. It's a similar thing. Like, I like to have their appreciation of can of beer. My kids are 6 and 10 years old, and not to say they're beer drinkers or anything, but every once in a while they've had a sip of beer.
It's the generation we come from, man. I mean, right now I see less of it, but I used to have drinking my dad's beer when I was younger.
I don't see a problem with it. If you were gonna, like if you've been to Europe or South America or anything like that, these are not things that are like looked down upon. Nobody's out there trying to bust people. I mean, I'm not letting my kids overindulge in alcohol, obviously, but my kids have grown up around us being in the beer business.
For sure.
Like, for them to be able to pick up a beer and smell it, and of course I tell them how to do it properly.
Yeah.
You want to smell the beer, and you want to swirl it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Ideally, you have a little tulip glass like this. That's a universal style glass. Unless you're drinking a Pilsner, they know what a Pilsner glass is too. And I have a whole variety of glasses up there that they kind of understand. But no, I mean, it's fun. Like, they've gone and they've enjoyed like a little taster of like anything from a lager, to which they don't love as much, to a hazy, which they think is like juicy and fun. Yeah. To like a barrel aged stout. They're like, ooh, vanilla, or like or cinnamon or something.
Well, that's class, man. You're teaching us some culture.
Exactly.
Right, for sure.
You got to. Oh man. 90-degree day. At least we're in the shade.
Yeah. I tell my wife that we haven't had a real scorcher here in a while.
Yeah.
Right. I'm waiting for the 105, 107 day.
Yeah.
Right. We've been pretty lucky here recently. All right. So.
How long have you been married?
My wife's gonna see this. I better get this right. The good thing is that she goes through the same problem I do. Is it 16 years? Is it 17 years? Yeah.
You're right around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been married 14 years or 15 years.
See?
Oh, geez,
you see?
Yeah.
I'll edit this out of the episode, man.
Yeah,
I'll save you.
06. I mean, I love her. Darian, my wife, by the way, she helps me run the business, and all my clients know her because she handles all the emails, all the service agreements, all that kind of correspondence. Yeah. She answers the phone a lot of times. She has her personal cell phone is like, the business phone is routed to her personal cell phone. So Darian, as I'm sure you could agree, she's the brains behind the business.
Keep us going, yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
If I didn't have her, man, I would be absolutely nowhere near.
We're just the mules. We just do all the
Right, exactly, man.
For sure.
Exactly.
Carry the load.
Exactly, dude. Anytime I'm making a bad decision, she lets me know about it. But we also, and it's tricky to work. Like, I do work with her every single day, and we've had to remind ourselves sometimes, like, let us not like fall asleep talking about work and then wake up talking about work.
Right, for sure, yeah.
And it, of course, still happens from time to time. Yeah. Like, every once in a while we'll wake up, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, whatever it is, and the first thing we see is our phones, because we live in reality in 2020 now, 2021. Yeah. And the first thing you lose on your phone, and boom, there's something right there that's either good news or bad news, and what you have no choice. Yeah. But we do really try and separate it out. We just actually had our first vacation in 3 years. We went down to Costa Rica for 8 days.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's so healthy, man. Like, just to have. And even down there, I had 2 crews going up here the entire time I was gone, and driving to 10 breweries each week, 1 on each truck, Monday through Friday, and I'm still on the phone with breweries from Costa Rica, like talking about their anticipated carb volumes and their temperatures and how much product we're doing, and do we need any case trays or pack techs or lids or anything on those lines.
But it's because it's yours, man. You know, and you want it to be good when you get back.
Exactly. I'm trying to always have success. It's the nature of a business owner, and but again, like I said, I love it. It's even down in Costa Rica, I could sit on the beach with a beer in my hand and talk to these guys while I'm staring at crazy lizards and geckos and whatever else.
It could be worse, man. You know,
yeah,
for sure. All right. Where do you see you going from here? Third truck. Your own brewery? Should I say your own brewery, maybe?
Well, so this is always a topic of discussion. We have different ideas, and growth is absolutely something that so in our business, we work with a lot of people who start as like a small to mid-level brewery, and some of our clients do get canning lines after we work with them for a year or two, and they increase their distribution or their demand or their following gets bigger and bigger, and so every year we might lose 10 to 15% of our clients.
All right.
We've been very lucky to gain 20 to 25%
right
every year, so our sort of model sustains. That said, what do we want to do? It could be a third truck. Of course, it's discussion. We do want to get more into the world of cocktails and ready-to-drink beverages.
Yeah.
We have talked about a number of things, which I'll probably keep a little tight-lipped on. Only because I don't want other people necessarily jump into it before us. But there are avenues of growth that I think we see as good potentials.
Yeah.
And there are challenges with our current model as well that we want to continue to tweak as business owners. But we do see that we have something here, and we always have for 4 years. We've always exceeded our sort of conservative estimates financially and operationally.
Yeah.
And so as long as that trend continues, we are going to continue to do well. Our number one thing has been reputation. Again, the theory of don't fuck up anybody's beer.
Right.
We fortunately have gone down a path where we have not fucked up anybody's beer. Any issues that we have ever had, we've been able to discuss and resolve, and so where do we go from here? There's a lot of different routes, but
I will edit this out if I'm guessing your idea.
Yeah,
I will preface that right by saying that I will edit this out of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Branded RTDs for restaurants that want to offer to-go alcoholic beverages, because now in post-COVID, it's the hip thing to do.
Sure, there's definitely a whole market for RTD stuff. I don't want to take anything away from we have, like I was mentioning, Ventura Spirits is a partner of ours up north. But yeah, there's ways for us to get in there and potentially offer more of a full service to someone who has capital and has a good idea for a beverage.
Right.
But they don't
like a Cronies margarita in a can.
Right. Exactly. That's not their thing is not necessarily putting out a can of whatever their RTD beverage is.
Yeah.
They'll come to us and say, hey, we have the money to do this. We want to have a vodka cranberry in a can. What do we need to do that? What are all the steps that take place? And for us to be able to help them with that, whether it's going to a Ventura Spirits or maybe creating our own thing, helping create our own thing at some point, there are different ideas out there. So we're going to continue to explore those things. And I will leave it at that one right now, because I don't want to give away.
No, I got it, man. I understand. You got to have something up your sleeve,
No, but you're not far off, and it's not like it doesn't take rocket scientists to understand where there's things like that we all see are happening. All it takes is going to Whole Foods or a Total Wine or Bevmo would probably be a better example of that, and you see what's popping up on the shelves. If you go into Total Wine like that, before I became a beer canner, I spent a lot of time in Total Wine and Bevmos.
Yeah.
And I would really seasonally see what was happening.
Yeah.
And I was really in tune with what was going on, from spring to summer.
Yeah.
And how the style would change and what was popping up, and then summer to fall, and then fall into winter, and all of a sudden you get the barrel aged beverages in winter and all that stuff. And so to be able to see those trends now happening with alcoholic seltzers and with obviously with cocktails and other things like that, it's interesting. And that is an area that we want to help continue to grow, because we get approached all the time now by people that have crazy ideas, but they don't know what to do with it. And sometimes we immediately have to just kind of say to people you're the right partner for you.
Yeah.
And we don't ever like to say anything and come from a place of being a naysayer. We want to try.
Yeah, for sure.
We really do. And this comes from me being in the event business and having these crazy people come to me with event ideas, build outs for whether it's a trade show or a tennis event or whatever I was in the past, and then having to figure them out. I was an employee having to be like a director of operations and having to just figure out how I'm going to do these crazy ideas.
I
couldn't say no.
Right.
And what it built in me was like this understanding of like, okay, we didn't say no, even though this was a tremendous pain in our ass. We had the capital, and we made these insane things happen. And now I realize we can do them. So like, why would I ever say no if the capital's there, the opportunity to make money is there, the opportunity to do something cool is there.
Right.
Like, let's do it. Like, I'm all about doing stuff that's cool. And in this business, like, it's not always about making money. Like, it is about building a long-term relationship, which eventually will make you money.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of time you got to take some crazy idea and some crazy person or like a personality that you know is maybe not like the type of personality that is going to be like, well, who I gel with necessarily. But, you know, this is still a client coming to us with a thing. And, and you know, I'm sure not every interview for you has been like insanely great, but you know, you have to learn to adapt to who the people are and how they may deliver a message or like content that they're talking about.
Right.
And you have to continue to like, if maybe they're not talking a lot, so you have to continue to like bring out what might be the interesting stuff out of them or whatever, you know. And so for us, it's the same deal. Like, figure out what their needs are, what interests them, what we think may, you know, down the road, if we are going to continue down in these paths of like trying to help things, like what would be interesting for the customer out there and all that. So yes. You keep pouring these beers in me, I'm going to probably get more loose lip. My wife's getting very mad at me.
So we're at Boomhut Ranch. What's your favorite thing about the ranch?
Man, I love it. We're sitting on a stage here that is a permanent stage in our ranch. This ranch that we bought was previously had like 20 to 25 horses on it. Currently has 0 horses. But what we're sitting in now was like what is called a horse round.
Okay.
And we look out at this amazing Ventura County open space here. But you can see the green bars in the background. Horses used to literally run around this thing, get their daily exercise and everything else. But I like the stage, man, because we can host, and we haven't during COVID been able to, but we're going to host some bands here coming up and have some parties in which we have, you know, some pretty cool stuff happening. So I like that. My wife, Darian, has an incredible garden going on. We've got somewhere in the range of like 60 fruit trees.
All right.
Which are all, you know, it's different seasons will go off right now. We've got some, you know, we've got peaches and plums and nectarines and apricots, and all the stone fruits are going right now, which is pretty cool. We've got lemons and sweet limes and cherries. We just picked 3 cherry trees recently.
Wow.
So, man, we're just incredibly lucky to have a place like this. Never thought we would, but we stumbled into it, and here we are. And so it's pretty cool, man, to be able to have you out here and, you know.
No, this is a good spot for an interview, man.
Yeah, dude, not too bad, right?
For sure. So where can everyone? All right, brand new brewery. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so we do a lot. You know, we try and do the social media thing. Our website is probably the best avenue for like finding information about what a canning run entails.
I visited it.
Yeah,
it's very to the point, and it's very descriptive.
It is,
and it's like, this is what we need. Do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, boomhutcanning.com is our website. Everything's on there. Like a lot of what I've noticed, and this is not a slight to anybody else that's in the business at all, because we just do things differently. But we learned that putting all the helpful information out there that breweries need to have in order to have a successful run helps them immediately build the trust in us.
Yep.
We're not afraid to and yes, do I think that other people have come around and probably stolen some stuff and from us and maybe, you know, done whatever? It's possible, because we're putting a little more of ourselves out there.
Yep.
But I think that, you know, we're trying to be as upfront as we need to be about what we need for success. We've been around the block now.
Yep.
You know, we've had our tough times and we've had our successes, and now we're lucky to say like it's pretty much all success when we're coming into like as far as like proper canning runs go and efficiencies go for, you know, like these brewers who are paying us to come in for the shortest amount of time possible to get the project done. Those are all check marks that we can say we've successfully checked off, and so you know, having all this information on our website has been helpful. We do the social media thing for sure, at Boomhut Canning on both Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. I
try to do Twitter, but I don't know, 42.
Yeah.
Is it an age thing? I don't know. I didn't do the Twitter thing as well, but Instagram is probably our biggest thing, and you can find us there. We're doing daily stories or almost daily stories from where we're at.
For sure.
And you can kind of go through there and see who all our clients are, and we try and if there's anything like really cool and exciting that we're working on with someone, or that they're working on with us, is the way that I should put it.
Right.
Then we love promoting. We love cross promoting. I mean, of course, it showcases what we do, and you know, like if I can post that, you know, hey, here's our new thing from Firestone. Of course, I'm gonna post like Firestone. I love the fact that we work Firestone. That is like, if you were to ask me like what turned me into a beer nerd, like Firestone Sukaba was one of the first beers I ever had where I was like, boom, mind freaking blown.
Yeah.
What the hell am I drinking right now? You know, and so now, 10, 15 years later, to be able to work with Firestone and be able to can their beers, like Matt Brendelson, who's the brewmaster of Firestone, he stood next to me for 2 or 3 canning runs in a row at Propagator, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a little intimidating. This guy's made like a lot of my favorite beers in the history of my beer drinking.
Yeah.
Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of beers, and he's standing right next to me, like making sure I don't fuck up his beer. Again, you know?
No pressure, bro.
No pressure, right? But it was a lot of pressure. But it's like the pressure that I like.
Yeah.
You know, like that is fun stuff, man. To be able to have a guy like Brendelson, like, holy shit, man. It's like if you were like a rock and roll musician, you know, and you were coming to the game, and all of a sudden like Slash from Guns N' Roses was standing next to you while you're playing your guitar, like, holy Christ, man! But at the same time, like, really cool. Really
you could die a happy man.
Right. So you know, the pride that we have to be able to post these things, and also like the pride that I have, because it's not Matt Brendelson, for instance, at Firestone. He's not the guy brewing all the beer at Propagator. He is working with Sam Tierney, who's the brewer down at Propagator, who's a long time, 10 years at Firestone, grew up, got all his chops up there at the Paso Robles location. But like, for us to be able to promote a beer that Sam's been working on, now that we have a relationship with Sam, is also equally cool, because he's like created his own thing, not outside of Matt and the rest of the guys at Firestone, but like it is really his, you know, they've given him the rope and the reins there at Firestone Propagator.
For sure.
And for us to be able to promote a beer like, you know, Gen 5, which is like their hazy double, or like Hippie Highway, these are fun beers, man. And I love being able to talk about these things, and as a beer nerd, once again, like that's where I always come from. Like, it's exciting to me when I come across a great beer and we're packaging that beer.
Right.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna post it on social.
Yeah.
So like everything you see on my social, excuse me, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever, like those are beers that I'm pumped on.
Right.
I'm not ever bullshitting.
Yeah.
I'm like just trying to, like, these are beers that we work with so many cool breweries, man.
Yeah.
It really is awesome.
For sure. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the beer.
Cheers, bro. One last
sip.
sip.
Right on.
We'll go like that.
Yeah.
Crack one more maybe while we're sitting here, but.
Well, thanks a lot.
Andres, good luck with everything. Thanks for everything you're doing with Ventura County. Bring awareness, man. I really appreciate it. We really do.
Thanks a lot, guys. That was Andres Borowiak from Boomhut Mobile Canning. Again, this was the second episode of this interview. There's a link in the description for the first part if you want to go check that out. If you know someone who should be on the show and has not been interviewed, please comment, tag them, forward this video to them. I want to get everyone, every brewery in Ventura County on the show and interview them. Anyway, please like and subscribe and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.